All right, so we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see some folks joining in. As you come on in, let me know where you're joining me from this evening. Happy Friday. We're doing a little impromptu live this evening because, a lot has been happening um, in the wonderful world of Canadian immigration. And we'll be sharing some updates with you guys this evening. It's been a while, I know, since we've been on here live. How have everyone been? Um, Hi, I see some familiar names. Hi, Latoya. All right. And so as you join, let me know. Okay, so I see St. Lucia, Jamaica. Welcome, guys. I'm Kay Wilson, by the way, for those of you who um, have not been on our live before. I'm Kay Wilson. I am the lead consultant with Northern Connections Canada Immigration. We're based here in Regina, Saskatchewan. And from this location, we serve clients in, many different countries. We primarily assist with applying to study in Canada or to live in Canada. So applying for permanent residence in Canada, working in Canada. So we do some job sourcing as well. So we do employment placement and services like that. We assist with visitor visa application, electronic travel authorization, you name it. We do a host of Canadian immigration services. And so today, I'll try to be as brief as I can. Um, Strawberry banana. I see somebody's asking about private consultation. If you're interested in a private consultation, I see that question on Instagram. Just follow the link in bio, and you'll see some information there on how to get that done. All right. So today, a few things that I'll be touching on briefly is a lot has been happening. As I said, there has been a lot of announcements and happenings in Canadian immigration. More recently, like just this week, the government released their immigration levels plan for Canada, and that sets out what their plans are for the next couple of years. So from 2023 to 2025. So that was huge. And I'll touch on that a little bit. We'll be looking at some of the changes that are coming in the NOC system, as well as changes in express entry in 2023, right? So a lot's been happening. So I'll get right into it. I see some questions as well. I'll see if I have time for questions. So we'll start off with the NOC system. So Canada announced that they are making change, and this happens from time to time, changes to the NOC system. So the NOC is the National Occupational Classification System, and we are making the switch from NOC 2011 version, 2016 version rather, to the NOC 2021, right? And with the changes in the NOC, you can expect to see the ramifications in terms of the programs, various programs, like pretty much all programs will be affected as a result of changes in the NOC. So we'll get into that a little bit, right? So the NOC changes are to become effective on November 16th. So that's in a very short time. November 16th, there will be some changes in the NOC structure, the matrix of the NOC, and of course, it will have its implications on the Express Entry system as well. So if you are in Express Entry or planning on going in the Express Entry system, then this will definitely affect you. And it's not just Express Entry, like I mentioned, all immigration programs really that will have use of the NOC system. So currently, in order to be eligible for some immigration programs, and in particular for Express Entry, you need to have work experience that falls into one of a few categories in the NOC matrix. So we have skill type O, A, and B, and there are, we have C's and D's as well, but generally those would not be eligible for Express Entry. And that's in accordance with the current NOC system, which is the 2016 NOC matrix. And so they're now going to switch from the 4-digit system to a 5-digit system that's called a tier system. And tier is for training, education, experience, and responsibility. So they are changing the way in which the occupations are classified. So this is a significant change. And all, like I said, all occupations that are in the NOC will be affected. So without going into too much detail, right? So what will happen? So we're, instead of having the NOC O, A, B, C, and D, we will now have a tier 0 to 5. So essentially 6 tiers in terms of the classification. There will be some occupations that may have previously been eligible for immigration programs. So maybe they were a NOC B, that will no longer be eligible, right? And from my understanding, based on the information that was released, that might be about 3 or so occupations. And there will be other changes that will see some occupations where the designation will change from a skilled designation, so skilled work, to unskilled. And this is one area that could be affected, where an individual's eligibility for an immigration program might be affected, right? So for some persons may not really see an impact aside from the NOC code that's associated with their occupation changing, while others might see greater implications. There will also be about 16 or so additional occupations that will now become eligible under the express entry system. So that's good for those who work in a particular occupation that previously would not have been eligible, right? So as it relates to express entry and candidates in the different immigration systems, what you should be thinking about is like, how does this affect me and what should I be doing? Like, what should you be doing right now? So for one, the IRCC will be making updates to the eligibility criteria for all programs that use the NOC. So too will the PNPs. There are a few PNP government that are actually pausing PNP draws temporarily so that they can make the changes to the system to accommodate the new version of the NOCs. You will also see that some of the category B, so the NOC B jobs, some of them will become tier 2, some of them will become tier 3. And what you may need to do, or what you do, not even may, what you need to do on your end is update your NOC. So if you're in any of these immigration systems, maybe you're waiting for an invitation to apply, you'll want to update your NOC on November 16 when it becomes effective, or after, right? And I'm sure they will most likely have a timeline that they'll give to each applicant by which to update post November 16. So you want to make note of that. So see what your new NOC code is, look at the matrix, try to determine what your new NOC is, and update that in the event that you have not received an ITA. If you have received an ITA already, then you would not have to, right? For those who are our clients, of course, we will be making those changes on our end. So there wouldn't be anything required of you. And if we do need any input from you, we'll definitely reach out. But that would be the one of the things to be mindful of, right? So that's for the NOC system. I won't go into any further details, but the key takeaway is if you're in any of the programs, ensure that you update your NOC on the 16th of November or shortly thereafter with the changes. All right. So the next one I am going to touch on is Canada's immigration levels plan, right? That was the big thing this past week. And the immigration minister released the numbers for 2023 to 2025. This is something that's mandated and regulated, so it happens annually. And so the plan that was released will see Canada welcome over about 1.45 million, close to 1.5 million persons over the next couple of years. So between 2023 and 2025, right? So that's big, that's huge. Now is definitely a good time to look to come to Canada if you have not. And if you're not in any of the immigration systems, then like I always say, you don't really stand a chance, right? Unless you're in one of the programs. So with this, and then I'll talk a little bit about the breakdown. So like in 2023, the projection, that's the high target. So these are the targeted numbers, right? They plan to welcome 465,000 new permanent residents. In 2024, we go up to 485,000 and then 500,000 in 2025. So these are pretty high, pretty ambitious targets. They have never been this high before. So like in 2021, for example, the government welcomed over 405,000. So that was huge, right? That was the highest number ever recorded. And they're looking to top that, as you can see in the numbers that are being projected for the next 3 years. Okay, so there's an emphasis on increased immigration. And the plan is to bring skilled labor into Canada through the economic immigration system that will help to fill labor gaps in Canada, because there are still a number of job openings in Canada. And the goal, really, the long-term plan is to fill these labor shortages and the projection in terms of the labor gap that they're seeing with permanent residents. So people who are coming to Canada permanently, to help to mitigate that and to support Canada's aging population, right? So that's the primary goal and benefit of immigration for Canada. They also want to focus more on regional immigration. So what typically happens is immigrants tend to, or those who are coming into Canada, tend to flock to maybe a particular region, for example, maybe Toronto. So a part of the plan and the new strategy, even with the changes in the express entry draws, which we'll talk about a little bit, a part of the strategy is to help with diversification, focusing on regional immigration. So spreading the immigration pool to remote areas of the country where they have a labor shortage, to help with growing the economy and growing the population in some of these areas where it's not as populated. And a fun fact for you, or a quick tip, like if you are on the job hunt, you definitely want to focus on these areas, like the areas where, it might not be as populated and might be a little bit more remote, because that's where the shortages will be more acute in terms of the labor shortages and the willingness of employers to hire, right? So you want to be very strategic about what you do in that sense. Outside of the express entry system, right? So in terms of the breakdown, like even for what they plan to do for 2023, for example, 465,000. If you look at the numbers, you'll see that the bulk of the economic immigration contribution, right? So the bulk of permanent residents will be coming from the PNPs, right? Not so much express entry. And what that means is you can change your strategy. It's good to be in the express entry system, and the numbers for express entry is expected to go back up in subsequent years. But for 2023, it's 82,880. It's not a lot compared to previous years. And so what you can do is to look at PNPs. Definitely look at PNPs. Are there PNP programs that you might be eligible for? And sometimes some of the requirements for PNPs are a lot more manageable for some candidates than others, right? Than compared to express entry. So 105,500 for PNP streams, and compare that to 2024, it will go up. So Express Entry goes up to 109,000. So that's a significant increase compared to just 82,000 in 2023. And the PNPs are fairly stable in terms of the numbers. They're all over 100,000. So the target is to increase economic class permanent residents, right? So that's a part of the strategy. There are also some numbers that were projected for family class, right? So a part of one of the pillars of Canadian immigration system is family unification. They want to reunite families. So you might be coming here and they want you to stay, right? In which case your family should be with you for you to stay and to settle in Canada successfully, right? And so a part of that is bringing spouses, children, common law partners to Canada, parents and grandparents. So they also included in this immigration plan are numbers for the family class applications, refugees, humanitarian, and compassionate classes. And there are others as well, but that's the bulk of it. They also want to increase their targets for French-speaking immigrants. So if you speak French, you might have an advantage as well where it comes on to finding employment. So maybe through the Francophone mobility, and also in terms of additional points for the various immigration systems as well. So that basically sums up the outlook on the immigration plans. And Canada, as I said before, the goal really is to help to support Canada's aging population, help to fill the labor gaps that are existent in Canada right now. So we're in a period where the labor shortages are very significant. And so that's the goal of the immigration levels plan and the government's commitment to encourage immigration into Canada and believe that it will be beneficial for Canada as a whole. So with that in mind, like I said, now is a great time to start looking at your immigration journey and your process and what that might mean for you. It definitely will look differently for each person. And finally, I am going to talk a little bit about next year. So next year is going to be pretty significant too, as it relates to Express Entry. So Canada will be starting to target skilled immigrants, certain types of skilled immigrants from the Express Entry system. This has never been done before. The draws from Express Entry has primarily been about your CRS, your score. And so, and this is based on a recent interview. We've heard about it before, but now we're getting some additional, details. And this is based on a recent interview with the Minister of Immigration, right? So for the first time next year, they will be doing these targeted draws, and it will basically allow the government to sort of pick applicants from the pool based on certain factors. So like based on your skills, like do you have skills, work experience in an occupation or an area that's in demand? Do they need people in this particular occupation? So it's based on your occupation and the sector that you work in. And also, are you interested in going to specific regions in Canada? Regions where your skills will be most needed, right? And remember, we talked about regional immigration before with the immigration levels plan. So that kind of supports that plan to have a better spread of people coming into Canada as opposed to having them go to like certain locations only. So that's kind of a part of it as well. And so they want to send workers where their skills are most needed. And that makes sense because you want to also go where you'll find a job easily and so on, and you can settle well. So a key focus will be that, and this is based on what the minister mentioned, a key focus will be recruiting more doctors, nurses. Of course, that's very obvious, right? Healthcare workers, especially considering the pandemic and all that's happening. So what they will be doing, though, based on what he mentioned, was they're going to be targeting provinces that will make it easier for healthcare workers to get their foreign credentials validated and start practicing earlier, like when they arrive, right? Some, like Canada is a big country, and every single province is different. I can tell you, like living in different provinces, you'll feel like you're in a different country. It's definitely something to experience. So the requirements, the licensing, and the regulations in each province will vary. And so what they'll be focusing on is sending, and I'm speaking specifically about healthcare workers because that's one that they mentioned, and that's one that's very obvious. There is a shortage, and especially like nurses, doctors, other supporting occupations in healthcare. And so they will try to target some of these candidates from the pool, and those, primarily those that are interested in going to specific areas where it will be easier to start working right away. They don't want you to come to Canada with your, being a doctor and not being able to work as a medical doctor right away. So it will basically defeat the whole purpose of selecting you based on your occupation. And so they noted that they would work with the provinces to ensure that there's a clearer pathway for these workers, and so that the transition would be easy. So when they come, they can kind of hit the ground running in terms of being able to work. So that is actually good. I really hope that they make good on these promises. There is an acute shortage of workers in Canada, and the last report issued by Statistics Canada said that there was about 958,000 vacancies in Canada, right? So, and again, I know like it is difficult sometimes when you try to find work outside of Canada. You have to be strategic about your search, and also just remember that um, the primary method, or the primary program that the government uses to bring immigrants to Canada to address these labor shortages is the permanent residency program. So bear that in mind. So you definitely want to ensure that you are in whichever pool or expression of interest system that you might be eligible for, and also look at ways that you can increase your score, bring your score up a little higher, or look at, have a plan A, have a plan B. Don't put your eggs in one basket, as they say. So that's my encouragement to you all. I did see some questions. Not sure if I'll have time for it. Somebody's asking what occupation. We're not speaking about any specific occupations. This is just general where the NOC is concerned. Let's see if I can get to some of these questions. All right. Our teachers are part of such workforce. Yeah, there are no specific occupations. I mean, the Canadian immigration programs are open to most, not all, but I would say most occupations. Yeah. So teachers would definitely be a part of that. There are a number of different immigration programs through which you can apply. Some might be targeted towards people in Canada, while others might be for those who are outside Canada specifically. So it really just depends on the individual. And I can't say there are any specific occupations. Like the programs are pretty open. skilled workers. So you have skilled and unskilled, and Canada's definition of skilled workers might be different from what you have in mind. So skilled workers doesn't necessarily mean like tradespersons or stuff like that. It's very broad. All right. So that's all I have today, folks. How do I get started? You can click the link in bio. So I'll tell you how to contact us. Will your clients be assessed based on new knock on other eligible PNPs? Anisha. Anisha is one of my clients. Anisha, I'm not sure I understand the question. But if your knock will change, not even if, your knock will change, what will happen is we will go into the different systems and we'll update the knock based on the new knock matrix, if that makes sense, right? And there won't be any reassessment, like your score, for example, will not change. It doesn't change your score unless there's a significant change in the program itself. Like your score will not change. The only thing that will change is your occupation. For some people, and it might not be a lot, depending on, especially if you're in a not B position, then I would pay a little bit more attention to that because of how the new tiers are set up. And not Bs can be in 2 tiers, so depending on the position. So as it relates to like one-on-one assistance, I see some questions about that. What I would encourage you to do is visit our website, nccanadaimmigration.com, and then from there you'll be able to schedule a consultation. The rates for consultation, they're listed there, so you'll see we have different types of consultations and also the rates. So I would recommend starting there. That's really how we start working with clients. We start off with an initial consultation, and then from there we will be able to advise you of your eligibility and the different programs that you might be able to apply for, what are the things that you need, and then how to get started, right? So it starts with that initial consultation. Visit the website, send us an email, info@nccanadaimmigration.com, and my team will be very happy to support you. Good luck for those of you who are on the journey. And if you do need support, we do, outside of the consultation, we do assist with the actual immigration application. So we have different levels of service where we can complete the entire application on your behalf. So for the bulk of our clients that we work with, we actually complete the process on their behalf from start to finish. So we would be handling the entire application. We do offer application guidance for those who may want to do it themselves, but they might need a little bit of support with that, as well as an application review service where we can review an application that you have prepared, right? So there are different ways that we can support you. It will just depend on your needs. Okay, guys, so thank you so much for joining this evening. Have a great weekend. Happy Friday. And if you did benefit from this information, give it a thumbs up, share, and we will be in touch. Send us a message if you have any questions, and my team will get back to you as well.